At the final due diligence call, I logged into the wrong Zoom and accidentally uncovered a multi-million-dollar fraud. The man on screen looked up and said, "Denise, you're right on time." It took me a full 3 seconds to realize I wasn't supposed to be on this call. This wasn't our company's strategy review. This was the buyer's legal team. And somehow, they thought I still worked there. Let me back up. Just 6 weeks earlier, I was the director of compliance at Asheville Technologies, a mid-sized SaaS firm in Spokane, Washington. I'd spent 17 years inside those walls. 17 years catching mistakes, documenting risk, and dragging our founders back from the brink of legal ruin more times than I can count. Then came Jonah Ellison, VP of Strategic Growth. Fresh off the implosion of his second failed startup and still wearing the cologne of buzzwords like agility and disruption. First thing he did, mocked my documentation processes, called it fear-based thinking. 3 days in, he bypassed my sign-offs and rerouted approvals through his golden boy, Zeke, a junior analyst who once asked me if indemnity was a type of paint. Week 2, I was cut out of deal discussions. By week 4, I was fired. Restructuring, they said. No exit interview, no transition plan, just a generic severance and a handshake colder than the conference room thermostat. But here's the thing, I saw it coming. So I backed up everything, risk assessments, redlined contracts, compliance workflows. I named the folder Denise's Fire Blanket. Because when they eventually tried to burn the place down, I wanted proof that I'd warned them. And now, here I was staring at a Zoom call full of buyers asking why my name was still on audit logs. The lead counsel said, "Denise, your notes from March flagged a shift in liability caps. Was that formally approved?" I swallowed. That version was still in draft when I left. The legal team went silent. They were looking at documents that had my name, but not my edits. They'd been tampered with, and now someone wanted me to explain it. Publicly. I wasn't just out. I was the ghost they were pretending never existed. They forgot one thing. Ghosts come back with receipts. Before I dive into what I uncovered, hit that like button if you've ever been pushed out by someone who couldn't do your job on their best day. Drop your city in the comments. Where are my overqualified survivors watching from? I stare at the document they've shared. It looks familiar because I wrote it, but not like this. Half the clauses are watered down. Section 9.3, my liability firewall, is gutted, replaced with fluffy legal nonsense like commercially reasonable efforts. That's not protection. That's a shrug and a suit. And the kicker? The metadata says I edited it 3 days after they fired me. I didn't. But someone used my credentials. Probably Zeke, the baby analyst who once confused vendor certification with a customer review. I glance at the Zoom list. Big names, legal sharks, a forensic auditor, someone from the FTC maybe. This wasn't due diligence. This was triage. "Do you have your original drafts?" the lead buyer counsel asks. I don't hesitate. Yes, I'd saved everything. Clean files, timestamps, no edits, just the raw truth. They ask me to send them over. I don't say yes, I say, "Let me walk you through them." That's when I know I'm not a ghost. I'm the only person who remembers what the house looked like before they painted over the mold. So I pull up my original MSA. Clause 14.3b is intact. Third-party vendors must provide annual compliance audits or risk full liability transfer. Deleted from their version. Not redlined. Not revised. Erased. I upload it. 1 second later, someone on their side whispers, "Oh my God," into a hot mic. Their legal lead turns off her camera. When she comes back, her voice is all steel and formality. "We're pausing diligence immediately. Denise will be in touch." She doesn't say thank you. She doesn't need to, because I've just changed the entire course of a $97 million merger with one forgotten clause. Later that night, my phone lights up. Jonah, of course. Email subject line, "Need clarification urgent." No hi, no apology, just digital screaming. I don't respond. 15 minutes later, another message. This one from the buyer's general counsel. "Hi Denise. We reached out to your former employer for clarification on your role. There seems to be some disagreement." I bet there is. They told the buyer I was a contractor, that I provided support. But I wasn't support. I was the skeleton holding the company's spine upright. I answer calmly. "You'll find my name in 85% of compliance files dating back 7 years. Approval chains, authorship logs, Slack receipts, all under my login. Until they locked me out. Pause. Thank you, she says. I know that tone. It's not polite, it's prosecutorial. They're not collaborating with my old team anymore. They're building a case. The next day, I'm looped into a new Zoom. Buyer side only. No one from Asheville. They don't want explanations. They want evidence. The forensic audit team shares their screen. They've built a side-by-side comparison of every critical contract. My original versus what Asheville submitted. First mismatch, my master services agreement, timestamped April 14th, 3:42 p.m. their version, same day, 6:13 p.m., with neutered clauses, missing signatures, and guess whose name's still in the metadata. Mine, second mismatch, the escrow clause, my draft, clear language. If compliance isn't cleared, funds stay locked for 90 days post-close. Asheville's draft, no escrow clause, not even a placeholder. Someone deleted the breaks from the financial train and hoped no one would notice. They noticed. Original documents include critical risk protections, the buyer GC says, voice low and lethal. The internal folder omits them entirely. The room goes quiet, until one junior buyer counsel blurts out, "This isn't cleanup, this is misrepresentation." That word lands like a gavel. I don't gloat. But I do feel something shift. In the posture, the silence, the way they now look to me like I'm the expert, not the exile. Then the hammer drops. A buyer rep says, "We'll proceed only when Denise is reinstated as compliance lead for transition oversight." On cue, Asheville's execs join a parallel call. Their faces freeze when they see me logged in. Jonah looks like someone just served him a subpoena, and I haven't said a word yet. "Denise," says the buyer GC, "thank you for joining. We've reviewed your documentation and would like to proceed, if you're willing." Willing? I want to laugh. Instead, I nod and share my screen. This version of the MSA restores Clause 14.3b and adjusts escrow triggers based on your updated audit requirements. I've added a side letter to bake it into the close packet. The GC nods. "This will suffice." Jonah opens his mouth. She cuts him off. "We've also flagged personnel misrepresentation in previous correspondence. Consider this your formal warning." Translation: one more lie and we'll drag you into litigation. By the end of the call, I'm not just back. I'm contracted, 6 months, full control, my own rate. They don't employ me anymore. They need me, Jonah, transition to special advisor. Translation: exiled with no inbox access. Zeke, gone, probably tick-tocking about burnout recovery. Mark, the old manager who once said I lacked executive tone, sent a desperate voicemail asking to align narratives before the next call. I didn't reply, because I wasn't aligning anything. I was leading. 9:01 am sharp, I log into the next Zoom. No small talk, no intros, just buyers on one side, sellers on the other, and a war room so tense you could hear Slack notifications getting silenced mid-sentence. The buyer's GC doesn't even blink. Due to discovered inconsistencies in compliance documentation and non-disclosure of key personnel roles, we're halting all merger proceedings. Jonah tries to speak. She cuts him off. Unless Denise Morales is officially reinstated as transition oversight lead, we'll consider this agreement null. Boom. Silence. Even Zeke, who somehow snuck onto the call, visibly shrinks on camera like someone finally turned off his ring light. Mark, my former boss, stares straight ahead, probably wondering how the woman they discarded became the one holding the pen. That's when I click the second invite link. New account, new name tag, camera on, audio crisp. "Thank you for joining us," the GC says. I nod. "Let's begin." I walk them through every missing clause, every signature mismatch, every silent red flag. And just like that, the merger comes back online, but only if I'm driving. I'm not rejoining Asheville. I'm not crawling back to the people who tried to bury me under broken contracts and buzzwords. I'm retained, on my terms, 6 months, double my previous rate, and every deliverable must go through me. When the call ends, my inbox explodes with confirmations. Jonah has been transitioned into a new advisory role. Translation: locked out of the war room and left to rot in a ghost Slack channel with 0 permissions. Mark has been reassigned. Zeke has vanished. Probably back to cafe Wi-Fi and job interviews he'll lie through. But I sit in my quiet home office, coffee finally hot, documents exactly where they should be. And on the corner of my desk, a yellow sticky note in black ink. Slowing deals down saves them. I didn't need a revenge speech. I didn't need to scream. All I needed was the truth, documented, time-stamped, unerasable. They tried to delete me, but I was the clause they couldn't redact. The fallout came faster than I expected. 3 days after I restored the MSA and escrow clauses, I got a call from Asheville's board liaison. Voice tight. Words trembling under legal phrasing. Denise, we'd like to extend an apology for how your departure was handled. It appears oversights occurred. Oversights? I nearly choked on my coffee. They tried to erase me. And now they were tiptoeing backward, hoping to avoid stepping on the landmines they planted themselves. I said nothing, just listened. Because what came next? Poetic justice in corporate form. The buyer's legal team issued a formal statement to Asheville. Material misrepresentation of risk exposure. Failure to disclose termination of key compliance personnel. Potential grounds for indemnity dispute. Translation. The entire deal was now worth $14 million less, until I was brought back on. And even then, they weren't sure they'd move forward. Jonah's synergy and velocity cost the company a year's worth of funding and reputation that wouldn't wash off with any rebrand. I heard through the grapevine that he tried to frame the fiasco as a transparency breakdown in a company-wide Slack. Got roasted so hard, it pulled his access mid-thread. Zeke, ghosted. His name stripped from all transition materials like he never existed. Mark sent me a final message. If you ever want to come back, doors open. I didn't reply. Instead, I signed my consulting extension with the buyer, now leading compliance integration for both sides of the transaction. I was now the firewall they wanted. And Asheville, they're a case study now. At industry events, I hear execs whisper, "Don't pull a Jonah." Every time someone tries to fast-track a deal by cutting compliance, someone else mentions that lady from Spokane who nearly tanked a merger with a red line. But the truth, I didn't tank anything. I saved it, quietly, strategically, and with a mug in hand that now reads, "I flagged the clause that saved your ass." So no, I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I documented everything, and I waited. Because sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire. It looks like a footnote with your name still on it.